Welcome to the Pandakitty podcast with your hosts, Jessica and Shaula.
Today's topics are a meet and greet. Take some time to learn about your hosts in the show, as well as music in the soul, a look at the world of music, likes, dislikes, and why.
Hi, my name's Shaula.
And I'm Jessica.
And so we're the hosts for the Pandakitty podcast. And today we're just going to do a meet and greet. And we're also going to have a little bit talk about music after the break too, since we thought that would be an easy topic for us to do. Personally, I have a few different hobbies. They're a wide range, and they usually tend to be in the creative area. So I do art, and I do digital and traditional, although I usually just doodle in class a lot. But I really want to do voice acting when I grow up, so I often putz around with my microphone and sing.
Yeah, I'm also really interested in the arts. I probably don't actively pursue it as much as I should, but definitely an interest. I also would like to be a voice actress. It's one of my dreams among many other things. I attempt to do art, but I think painting is where my true calling is, although I don't practice it as often as I should. Yeah. So let's delve into the topic of how we're going to approach the show and what it's going to be like in the future.
I think that mostly it's going to be more of just like us having a conversation with each other, but also with you guys, whoever's listening and watching. So it's kind of like we're going to be discussing things, but we're not going to be really particular about facts. I mean, we will have facts throughout it, but it's a lot going to be about what we think as a person more than more of the factual podcasts that you'll find out there that give more of the deep, in-depth conversations of the facts of things. So this is more of an opinion one.
Mm-hmm. A lot of like casual conversation on whatever topics we find interesting, whatever topics any of our viewers find interesting. Just pretty much living life as you would at the dinner table.
Yeah, it's like a dinner conversation. You come here, you put it on, and we're kind of there with you having this conversation. Although you can't really interject into our conversations, but you can if you leave comments down below as well, so that's a big thing. It'll be a big part of the show later on, too, if we get a good following.
That'll be probably the main way that we communicate with each other. We'll be able to bounce some ideas off of you guys, see what you guys think about what we talked about, and much more things to come.
Yeah, and we'll always have little breaks. So we're going to have like breaks in between two different topics if we have two topics, or if it's a really long topic and we're discussing it for a really long time, we'll have breaks as well. And those breaks will include like quotes from people, fan arts if those happen, fan comments, anything really that we think would take a break from what we're really talking about. And also sometimes it'll be a little cute thing that goes with what we're talking about, but more of lighthearted if it's a serious discussion.
Yeah, it'll be a nice outlet for us to kind of input some of our creative ideas and freely express some of our art forms that we maybe don't practice as much as we like to. So it'll be a nice way to kind of force ourselves to do it.
Yeah, like one thing we're going to do is little voice acting things later on, and what we're going to have is, you know, the 3 points, the person, the place, and the subject. So we'll be asking for things from you guys for that later on as well. So that'll be really cool. So now that we talked about all of that and what we're going to make the show about, we'll kind of take a break now because this will be a little bit of a shorter episode, and we'll take a break and you'll get to hear the little break thing that we have that's going to be going on in each episode, just like the beginning thing is also something that goes on in each episode. And we'll talk about music afterwards, so see you guys in just a little bit. It's now time for the break. A fun in-between filled with music or other fun time passers. Hello and welcome to the break today. We're doing quotes from people, specifically nice people. And our first quote is from Bruce Lee.
Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. The second one is from Gandhi.
Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will. Our third one comes from Maya Angelou.
If you are always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. And our fourth one is from Margaret Thatcher.
Where there is discord, may we bring harmony. Where there is error, may we bring truth. Where there is doubt, may we bring faith. And where there is despair, may we bring hope. And those are the 4 quotes for today. Have a good night.
4 nice quotes.
Back to the second half. Yeah.
Woo!
All right, so hi, welcome back. This is the second half of the Pandakitty podcast, where we're going to do Music for the Soul, which is talking about music, and we won't be delving into a lot of, like, the serious things. This is probably the longer section of this episode, though, so be ready. And we're going to, like, hit points about, like, what our favorite music is, why we like it, the different things that we look for in music, whether it's, like, a good beat, something that'll get us grooving, or if it depends on our mood, too, because some people have that as well.
Let's see. So, favorites. I generally will attempt to listen to any type of genre. But my favorites as of late are definitely in the alternative rock and indie kind of scenario. I don't know, they just have a really nice mellow tone to them that I've been really liking lately. I do still really enjoy some old classic music. Not like classical, but like the really good party music from like the 80s and whatnot. They still get me grooving. So those are some of my faves when I'm in the mood for a pump up jam.
Personally, I'm definitely not up on the pop music. Definitely not my scene. I usually don't go for that kind of stuff. I'm more of a classic rock or classic music kind of girl in most cases, but I also do dabble in like some of the more recent modern music as well. It usually really depends on my mood, though. Like, sometimes when I'm drawing or writing, I'll put on classical music in the background because I really like that because it mellows me out and lets me think because it doesn't have any voices. So I can't do, like, instrumental versions of things. So I do that sometimes. But those usually aren't what I listen to in the car. Like, my radio station that I listen to has, like, all of the oldies on it, like the 50s to the like 90s. And
Yeah.
That's what I listen to most of the time.
Yeah, a lot of the pop hits from the decades were they're definitely, I would say, in my opinion, a lot better than today's pop hits.
Yeah, I think that they had a lot more dynamic, personally. Like, I feel like they had a wider range back then. And throughout all this generations, like, everybody has certain things that they like. And, like, obviously, the generation of today likes certain things. And all the ones from back then like certain things. But I feel like they had more creativity sprouting and, like, going out and branching in different directions because they were looking for those things that identify with them. And I feel like today, more like they are kind of set in their pattern. And it's kind of like a pattern of things happening. And it's not so much about finding those creative outlets and more about what is going to get me money.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's a lot less willingness to break out of your, I guess, stereotype of music.
Yeah.
Like, if you start off as a pop singer, you're a pop singer. Whereas back in the day, like, you used to have singers like Madonna, for example, who would just merge and, like, she would morph herself into whatever genre she wanted to be at that moment. And that's why she's been in the music industry for so long, because she is able to just completely change herself to fit what is currently popular. And that's why she's, like, considered a legend for most people. And I think a lot of people, they tend to create the same type of style of music and the same songs. They're always about the same kind of things lately in pop music. There's not as much originality or true meaning behind songs.
Yeah, it doesn't get deep. Like, the music today really doesn't hit me in the soul. Like, with my music, I like a lot of heart. Like, I want something that's going to connect to me and actually make me feel something. And I just don't feel like today's music gets to that point. Like, it doesn't make me feel stuff. Like, there's this one song that I really liked growing up. If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain, And I listened to the lyrics one time, and it turns out that it was like a wanted ad in a newspaper that they were both reading. And he got the newsletter first, and it had that ad in there. And it was a girl looking for somebody like that. And he was like, well, I matched that. So he sent a wanted ad back. And so that happened. And then there's the second verse where he's like, I like that stuff too. And it turns out that it was the husband and the wife that are like there in the bed together. But they lost that chemistry that they used to have because they got complacent in their life. And so the song, like, I was like, oh my God, this song, like, and I teared up when I realized what the lyrics were saying. Because I like actually felt something when I was like, that is so deep. Like, it tells you that like sometimes you need to do something in order to keep somebody. But like I feel like the music today doesn't do that as much anymore.
Yeah, like you have some of those hits that are like, okay, that was actually a pretty good one. Like, I will admit there are some pop songs, I listen to them and I like them, but I would say generally most pop songs today I don't find I would categorize as a favorite of mine. They're not something that I would actively like download onto my phone and listen to every day or listen to in the car without it just being on the radio. And I think it's really interesting how some people will say, well, all great music is happening today, but they just kind of erase all the great music that happened in the past, which for me, I think was much better than the music today.
Yeah, we were talking about this in my arts management class actually recently, and we were talking about how a lot of the songs today you can play on the same 4 chords because people have gotten used to using those same 4 chords just in a different like way, and it's what makes people feel like certain things, and like people have gotten into that pattern, and so all of the music starts to sound the same. Like, I've had moments in the car where I've been listening to a song and I think it's one song. I'm like, oh, this is what the song's gonna be, and then it turns out to be a completely different song, but it started the same way as the other song, and I was like, wait, but it never happens with the oldies. Like, whenever I listen to an oldie, I know what that song's gonna be when it starts up.
That first 10 seconds, you're like, okay, I know what song this is. I'm getting myself ready to sing this song.
Yeah, but with, like, pop hits, you can't do that because a lot of them sound the same. So they tend to, you'll listen to it and you'll be, like, ready for one lyric, and then it'll start with a whole different song, and you're like, wait, what? But
I was not ready for that.
But I thought this song was something else, and now it's something else. So that's definitely something. But other than that, like, I think that music today really needs to have a push in a certain direction. Because without having that push to try and be something greater, I think we're going to continue to be just like the same pattern over and over and over again. And I think there's a lot of artistic people out there, even the artists today, who are trying to do that, who are trying to open up the world to these different possibilities. And that's something I really like, is thinking about the possibilities. So I think that that's something that we really need, is to try and bring the possibilities to the world, and through this artistic form that is music, especially if you're like a pop artist or something like that. They always talk about these big things that they want to do with the world, but they never put it in their songs. But like, if they started putting those big impacting things into their songs, they could make some really deep stuff, and it would be really nice to hear it.
Yeah, I also think we just need to get some more exposure for the artists who really are doing some amazing things that no one's really hearing because they just aren't given that opportunity to explore what possibilities they have. And I think it's really sad that there's so much talent in the world that's just not expressed or not heard or not seen by anyone, just because they might not know the right people or they might not have the money or something like that.
Yeah, I think like, so after this podcast is done, after we're done talking, I think it would be nice if down in the comments we had like a little discussion going about like songs that you guys know and that we know that we would like to expand everybody else's horizons and let them listen to those songs. So down in the description we'll have like a little list going of like songs that we think you guys should listen to, that you might like, you might not like, but we think are really nice songs that are not really, I guess, might not be known by you guys, and there's a lot of artists on YouTube too who have good songs, who like made them themselves, and some of them are comedic, but some of them actually out there make some really deep stuff that is really interesting. I think one that a lot of people know is Shatter Me by Lindsey Sterling. She does the violin in it, and that one's really good. I really like that song.
Yeah, or even if you know any artists that just are making some really quality content, but they're not getting the exposure, we can always put them in the comments as well and try and get some people out there to see if they like their music, and maybe they can help out a little bit.
Yeah, so with that, we're going to end this, wrap up this party, and maybe we'll have another dinner date sometime soon. So have a wonderful weekend, Pod Poodles, and we'll see you next time.
Ciao.